guys, thank you very much for joining me. Paulina here, talking to you about this moon. So we have this full moon. We have this incredible full moon in the very vast sign of Libra on the 31st of March. This is it basically. If you read my daily blogs, you might have seen a little bit of a mix match with energy for this week, and this is why, because we are under this placid moon already. We are already vastly feeling it, I feel, and we can now totally see where things are going maybe, or we can now underneath the guidelines or underneath the blueprint for the future now, understand what it takes and what it means to be in this particular place. I don't actually think that this particular moon is going to give much if we are not nurtured. I feel that it sort of comes with a little bit of a undercurrent of mistakes. I feel that whatever was going to fall is going to fall. Whatever was going to crack is cracking already. And the things that aren't healing or aren't sound and aren't doing well, we have to really finish up all jitteriness with other people. We've got to, I feel, finish off any type of tooth and claw situations that have been building up for the dog year. I feel that it is a very best time to make friends. It's the best time to make friends of people that you do not usually like. I think that it's actually a very interesting time to submit your ego and to submit your dreams. Here it is. Okay, so the structure is elevating very fast here. We've got Mars conjunct Saturn. We are building something. We've got two stellars in different cardinal signs. And we have got to really understand this new phase of us, this new wave of commitment, what it takes to get to the next barrier, or perhaps what it is to really be here. We've got to commit, and it's not just that. Underlying small print, the underlying pattern, where you used to be, where it was for you, and now where it is, because reality has changed its game. And I feel for most of you, it is not easy to step in time. There is a very freaky thing that happens during this type of moon, and that's where people can be on a bit of a landslide. So it's like we can step onto the wrong or the right places, and they slide us into the next connection point very quickly. So it's almost like you're gliding on roller skates sometimes here, slipping on banana peels, or and slipping on other things. It's like a slippery slope here. It's a slippery slope. If you don't feel well, that has to be addressed. If you are not giving yourself enough love and care, that has to be addressed. If you are not new to something, but you're always the underdog, or you're always in the back, that has to be addressed. All positions with people have to be seen. So for example, if you are somebody who's an expert, and you know that you know who you are, but you are always unconsciously, situationally placed at the end of the sequence, just behind, just against the wall. What is it that prevents you from leadership, or how is it that you're preventing yourself from mixing with other people? What are those thoughts that you can perhaps now catch? What are your thoughts about people? Who are you when you are scrolling through Facebook or scrolling through Instagram? Who is it that feels mistake in other people? Who are you? Why are you judging us? Or what is it about you that is putting on one face with one person and a different face with another? What we have here is actually a very passionless time to admit. Very, very passionless time to forgive. We could be understood, and we can also understand very, very easily here. So, hey, wow, I've always been triggered by this individual. I've been always triggered by this particular group of people. But now that I'm here, now that I'm sitting here and I'm looking at what they've done, or I'm looking at their world, I'm not. It is an interesting idea to try to do that, to dip your feet into a different understanding about another. This could be done in many, many different ways. One of the ways that I've been doing this is through photographs. Photographs and watching people do their thing. What is an unconscious trigger for me? One of the reasons that I feel we miss that, we miss who we are and how we're triggered by consciousness of others, is not because we don't care, but it's sometimes because we care too much. And we can also place a big, 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 big karmic imprint on our own lives if we judge or if we mistake other people for being lost or forgotten. That's another thing. So that's a new thing for me this month, definitely, is don't expect another person to be lost. Not all those who wander are lost. Just because a person practices a different religion or a different way of life to yourself, it does not mean that they're lost. And we also have to come together where each person has to be trusted to be placed into a sequence with others for a limited time, perhaps, because we're sort of playing some musical chairs this time around with groups and social activity. But each one of us who's placed in any situation has hold of a great power. Each person in a sequence, each one person in any kind of situation, each one of us in any kind of context has got a very specific reason for being where we are. And it could be as casual as being on a plane. Who's next to you in the seat next to you? Who is next to you? What are the ways in which we are sequencing each other? And also in a very, very strong games and families, especially perhaps for some of us, you know, families and other situations, how we placed, what's going on, what are we doing, what are the sequences between us. It's very, very good to see. If you are like myself and you're going through some family trauma during this time, it's actually a really good time to not to truly, how can I say, take things personally, because with this type of moon, sometimes relationships and situations with one another can naturally escalate. And this can be something that is not seen, so it is under the surface escalation or under the tide escalation. It's like there's lots of different momentums taking place. It's like there is a fast moving momentum here, then there is slower moving momentum, could be going to a different direction, and there's another momentum underneath or on the other side of what we can see. So if you can imagine tectonic plates, you know how they move, they don't just move like this. There is like a slip and slide that happens between the layers of the earth. And that is what we're basically seeing here with this very, very interestingly unconsciously stimulating moon. But because we are in the first month of the year, because we're in Aries, this is not usually seen. So where we are, we sometimes can only see the phenomena on the outside. We can't see what is happening underneath. Just like with volcanic activity, for example, we see a volcano passing smoke, but we don't actually see what's happening underneath. So there is a slip and slide underneath every momentum here, I feel. There is probably a slip and slide underneath what is happening to you. If you are not sure where this big gush of energy is coming from, perhaps there is something very complex taking place on the other side of reality. Perhaps there is a very interesting unconscious process that you had to go through in order to generate this much light. Don't take energy for granted. If you are somebody with a lot of light, with a lot of love, with a lot of like starbursts of energy, there is a very interesting reason as to why you have got this. Because it feels to me that energy at this point of Aries is kind of a little bit scarce still. It is not for everybody. It's for those who are able to connect and continue something bigger, and occasionally it's for those who deserve it. You just deserve the energy that you get. But then for some of us, it will not be exactly the biggest burst of emotional, social, or just life force energy until about maybe for some even till the like 20th of April. So you know, like we can be weakened due to different reasons this month, especially if other people are tugging at reality, and sometimes other people need the energy more. It's a very interesting exchange. It's a very interesting cause and effect thing here that's happening as well, to me and perhaps a few others that you see. There is something taken, there is something given, especially in groups, in any kind of conformity with other people. Somebody gets more, somebody gets less, and there's usually a very, very strong reason why. But we can sometimes mistake it for luck. We can also mistake it for the opposite of like life not being fair and so on and so forth. So don't question things. When you're seeing somebody and you're seeing their story, it'll be very, very simple to judge things on the outside. The unconscious activity, the slip and slide in all directions underneath reality, the things that are happening on the other side of life, things that are happening behind the scenes or underneath in the unconscious are very, very big. And it feels to me that we are not really wanting to change, but we have to. So reality is changing its steps, and I feel that we have to be on the ball with things. And as I've actually mentioned, from January, there's been some placements. I feel that a few of us, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you might see that there's a pattern with what I'm saying. I've been talking about being placed in situations and into context where we then can't get out of. This is very, very interesting for me because I'm feeling that this is one of those weeks that is going to really accentuate where you are. Do you want to be there? Are you in the golden cage? You know, are you somewhere where you don't want to be? Do you really like these particular trends and currents that you're a part of? Because we are traveling in packs, we're in a dog year. We're going to start being put into groups, taken out of groups, put into other groups. So the social context is changing for the next 12 months. And it feels to me that many of you guys are not really where you want to be, not really where you care to be, and not really where you like to be. It's just that you don't want to admit it to yourself. So this is about admittance. You know, when you are in such a powerful energy, energy can hop from one person to another, from one company to another, from one group to another. So luck can shift itself around. It's not even luck, it's like momentum can be almost taken from you or given to another. It's a very interesting interchange. If you can imagine, for example, like any sports game, like, I don't know, rugby or something like that, and there's only one ball and sometimes it gets passed around. So we all get to touch the ball, you know, we all get to touch this great accelerating momentum, but it is not going to be given to you specifically. Perhaps it will change hands. Opportunities change hands, momentum changes hands. I mean, I've just been sitting there and I've been watching. Sometimes we can have a opportune momentum over us energetically for about 20 or 30 minutes, and then that fades, and then for about 2 or 3 hours it's with something else or somewhere else. So energy is flickering on and off. It's almost like a butterfly that doesn't know on which flower to land. That's exactly basically it. So what to do and how to accept. It's interesting. So with the previous current of thought, if you are not happy where you're placed, if you are not sure and you are, you know, dominating yourself, you're netting yourself into this, you're saying it's okay, you're forgetting about things, you're getting docile, you're closing your eyes, this is not going to last. There is a need to know where you are, to be conscious where you are, to understand the decisions that you make, to really, really live the reality that you're living. We're becoming more and more real to ourselves every day as the year has begun, and I feel that many people don't really want to be where they're stuck, but they don't understand how to say anything. They don't even understand what to look out for. If you are somebody who is like me perhaps, and you know that you need to find a greater truth, you know that you need to find a greater feeling, like there is something missing, be on the lookout, go somewhere else, try to do something different, really elaborate on your reality, ask more, push the envelope if you are somebody who's like me. But if you are not and you're not quite sure as to how to get out of this trap, because some of us are kind of trapped a little bit, or we are segregated into realities, but we can't really that easily just walk away If you are in one of those, it might be very, very healing to not nurture yourself into a docile state. So we're in Aries, we've got to keep things going. But with this moon, sometimes it's like fate has an upper hand, or it feels like it does. Like it feels like something or somebody else is standing over us and is pushing the buttons of reality. It's making things happen, or he or she's making things happen. Nobody's making things happen. Nothing is standing over us. We just have to live. And here is the objective of this week, is to learn to feel, is to understand what you are doing, to learn to talk to your hands, talk to your fingers, talk to your feet, understand your liver, understand your eyes, understand your hair, understand your nose, understand all the different bits and pieces of you that are perhaps not communicating or not connecting. Everything is already inside. So sometimes it is just up to us to face the body right. And occasionally when we face ourselves and we really, really perhaps even grit our teeth and look at the facts of ourselves, the physical, simple human facts, we can sometimes get through and get almost like underneath reality, and we stand on that banana peel of momentum and we just slide into the next connection. Banana peel sounds unfortunate, but say for example, if you can imagine roller skates, we just slide into the new momentum. Who are those people that are going to do the best here? The fools, the empty-minded, and sometimes even empty-hearted people. Oh yeah, I'm just going to walk over there. Okay, what is there without people watching? Okay, that's a Russian saying. It's like, what is laying there without anybody watching? So this is not about theft, but it could be. It is more about like, okay, so what's there, and whose is it? And sometimes we can pick up things that are not ours and just go with it. So it's a very, very interesting time to pick up downloads. I mean, I'm working with a collective consciousness, so I'm just working with downloads. Like, wow, nobody has yet discovered this. Or nobody has yet, say for example, discovered this field, and nobody's yet using this method or this technique. That's a very interesting way of getting lucky. It's like nobody has discovered this yet. Another way of understanding this, and this is not easy. For example, somebody has something and they're not using it, and you can sometimes accidentally or by force even connect to their gift or connect to their essence or connect to their energy bank, and you can almost drain the energy bank. So this is very, very harsh, but it feels to me that energy is like gold coins and it's just getting passed around between us here. And I feel that the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way of not seeing this sometimes is to allow things to be as they are, and to know that every dog has its day, and also understanding that sometimes, say, you don't get the ball, but you'll get the ball tomorrow. Perhaps you're not getting that algorithm, or you're not getting that strength or perseverance. Somebody else might have ample suddenly, or it is even possible to see your dream walk away and be with someone else. It's very, very possible to see your idea or your illusion or your dream to be available now, but for some reason somebody else has got it, or somebody else has written those words, or somebody else is singing that song. It is not easy, but the best part of this is just to be the fool. Yeah, so just to be the fool, to be a little bit absent-minded and to go with impulse. So if you are somebody who is unclad, and you're not somebody who has been thinking too much, you're just kind of going with the yum or yuck response. If you have been able to, in the last few months, cut down your processes already, if you are not eating as much, if you are not trying so hard, if you're not working so hard, if you are not showing up for things you don't need to show up for, if you're not questioning other people, if you're just walking through life like this, I'm just walking through life. Occasionally a person who does not care and doesn't really need and doesn't really want and doesn't think will somehow land themselves a golden idea or golden situation, because these people are more likely to draw in the slip and slide undercurrent of momentum because they aren't obsessing over things. If you ask someone, I will even say more so, who's just completely let go and they said, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't really need anybody, you know, for example, or I don't really need to do these things. I don't really have to. I don't have to need. You know, if you're somebody who just like, I don't care, you know, like things didn't work out for me last year. Actually, you know, I'm over it. I processed it. I don't care. If you are not caring and you are at this point where you just like, ah, la, 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 but at the same time, there's got to be an inner voice that knows who you are and where you're at. But if you have recently in Pisces let go of a lot of things, and you can look at situations and people now that before really made you, you know, feel something, and you're now at the state where you're just like, oh, it's that person. I used to have a crush on this person, you know, and here they are now, where I'm not. And anyway, what else do I want? You know, if you notice that you are bored, this is actually very nice. If you're bored talking about certain things, if you're actually bored feeling those things about people, you know, like I'm undernourished, you know, like he never loved me, and suddenly you're like, oh, never loved me. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna do something else. Watch for this. If you're like a bird, this is great. If you're like a bird and you're flying over here, flying over there, you're sitting on the branch, you know, you're twiddling your thumbs, you know, and perhaps it's a new branch for you and you're working yourself out still, that's fine, that's okay. It's not okay to do this too much, but say, you know, you're changing your game a little bit. We're all going to change something this week, I feel. We're all gonna like maybe let go and establish something else, perhaps, and you're sort of sitting there on the branch and you're like, oh, okay, I wanted this, now I'm getting this. I don't really think I like this, you know, and you might want to change again, or you might want to go like a few steps back. So we are playing musical chairs a little bit here. And if you're not somebody who really cares, dreams, or feels, if you don't have this huge meaning, so this is about meaning and concept. So if you don't have this huge meaning attached to your life, and you're just letting it go, you know, you're just letting it go, you're like, that's okay, that's okay. This is just how it's been and this is what it is. If you are able to do this, you will probably find that by the 31st, you either are more ample and more fed and more clothed and more given, or you're not. You just see like suddenly a new frontier, which is actually much clearer than what you've had. So things are playing musical chairs with us. I feel that to be alone is not so good, you know. Yeah, Aries is a lonely time sometimes for those of us who are trying extra hard to launch something new. Sometimes we need all the energy that we can handle, but I feel this is actually the time to mix with others. You know, not just to mix, to actually enjoy, and to try and enjoy people that you never enjoyed before. Never, especially if there is something to do with class, culture, or style. This is going to be, I feel, something that is very, very unique about this particular moon, is trying different types of styles, different types of cultures, not being so concerned, you know, and not being so afraid. And also all conservatism with religion, with conditioning, with fashion, with way of life, that has to change, because, you know, the less you fear trends, the less you fear how people spend their time, their money, or, you know, their life, the less you are likely to limit yourself later. So how many different groups can you fit into? It's just, that's how it is. It's like, how many different tables can you sit at and find beauty in everybody at that table? Can you sit at this table? One of the reasons actually why I've really missed out, I feel, is because I get a lot of that type of interaction always, because I love going out to eat. So I go out to eat and I channel. So I love channeling at cafes. I don't need like a special room for channeling or anything. I can just do it on the spot. So there's been something that was very right for me for a while, but I'm actually noticing for some of you this is actually really good this particular week. Going to a completely different place perhaps, or going somewhere you haven't been before, and initiating yourself by sitting at the biggest table where other people will sit, and you will listen to their conversation. Perhaps you will overhear them talk about what feels like sometimes like they're talking about you, because everything is everything this month. And you may actually really want to understand what it's like not to feel shame, or what it's like not to feel awkward. Letting all those feelings down, letting all the guards down. But say for me, because I'm really used to this, maybe there is another idea. So dancing, going out dancing with different people, doing, say, acro yoga or contact sport, or being in some kind of situation where the boundaries that you usually have with another are breached. Can you do this? And then for others, it's different. You know, say for example, in the new age, there's a lot of people that really thrive for really close boundaries, you know, like, or no boundaries, or sometimes breaching boundaries and being a little bit, you know, tantric and crazy about things. If you are there, and that's one of the ways in which you feel more comfortable when you touch somebody, you feel like you can have everything that they are, or you know everything that they are, maybe it's nice to change your groups. It's actually a really nice time to go to the library, to sit with somebody really conservative, to be around your grandparents, to be somewhere where you usually feel triggered, targeted, or just uncomfortable or unconscious. It's very nice to look for those painful points, because I feel later in the year it might be a little bit too late. It feels even a little bit too late for some people now. So we are connected to different types of styles of being, different types of connective points with different people. You might want to see how that is for you. So for example, am I a walking stereotype? Am I an archetypal this or archetypal that? Do I have very, very little patience for a certain type of group, which is actually very lucrative for me, or is very, very friendly to me? You know, am I stepping away and like out of my bliss? Am I actually trying to fight my life? That's actually another big thing. Am I fighting my life? You know, am I fighting my own interests? Am I, for example, cutting down my business, or am I cutting down my opportunities, or just my emotional, social life in half by avoiding certain types of people, certain types of groups, by passing judgment on a large number of people just because somebody said something to me from that group, or something happened, or, you know, I don't respect, I disrespect what they've done. So it's a very interesting time to find, it's a very roundabouty time, a very roundabouty time to find the inner peace in you, no matter who you're around, and also to navigate yourself clearly with others. That means lawyers as well, lawyers, paperwork, all things that are humanitarian perhaps, and they're just like very, very very, very connective. You know, it's like, well, this is human rights, you know, like you can't shush a person, or you can't tell this person what to do. So having a very humanitarian approach is very, very good for us all. But also understanding approach. Some of us will get clients in places we've never tried to get clients. Some of us will be open to new demographics. You know, some of us, and this is actually a big thing this month. This is the big thing this month. We can get a job doing things, or we can start our business on a platform where before there was nothing. Socially suddenly acquired in a certain scene or in a certain situation. We could be socially acquired, we could be socially introduced, or, you know, socially accepted. Is just like classic example. There's some rock bands that don't do very well in their home country, but say they go to a different country and they do very well, like Vitas. You know, Vitas is like this really eccentric, I think he's Ukrainian singer. He's either Russian or Ukrainian, but he basically didn't get enough support in his home country, or like he was kind of like a cliche or prototype. And then he went to China, and in China he is very, very, very well known. So that's one of those things. So occasionally we may not see where we are the gem, where we are most suited. Sometimes we might not see where our word is worth gold. Sometimes we could be in the same box of crayons for too long, not knowing how to stand out. And here are the certain types of tides, the unconscious tides of nature here for this incredible moon. And what this tells me is that we could get ourselves out of the previous context in such a way in which we either benefit a lot, or we can have a karma from what we've done before, or a karma from what we've been continuously thinking, doing, or deciding before. So it's like we can be given a big gift, some of us, and for some of us something's going to be taken away. But the thing here is not to celebrate too much and not to be too ruckus about things, because occasionally you might even find with your own community, your own family, your own life, you might get something big, another person might lose something almost simultaneously. or there may be a very, very big find for them, but something is missing for you. And the thing here is that everything is ours in a dog year. Everything is together, okay? Everybody's each other's. And sometimes this means to learn to be happy for another person's gain, to be blissful about another person's life, to help another as well. And this is something that I've been building up here as well, this opportunity to talk about karma and reconciliation as well. And it was hard for me to face as well. Sometimes what we have been storing inside negatively, it will come back. And it's one of those months where you can really see it, perhaps. And the way that it comes back is very easy. Opportunities just pass you by. Like you are sitting there, you know, you're at the audition center, the audition space, or you're trying to get that experience. You know, you really want this experience, so you're trying really hard. And just passes you by, just walks past you, just goes elsewhere. It's also very, very easy now to sit with ancestors, to sit with relatives. It's actually a super awesome time all this month to give back to your elders and to connect back to those people that were there for you before you were born, or, you know, before you were anything. That's another thing. Say, for example, now you have a huge following, say you have a very, very deep picture with like Instagram, you know, or like social media. Say you have like a few friends who are on the roll with you, something like that. Say, for example, you have a very nice, bright role, but who were those monoliths, or who were those barriers, or who were these unlikely representatives, people or friends who have kind of held you before? You know, who believed you before anybody else believed you? Or say, for example, who bought you paintings before they started selling for a large amount of money? What were the components in your childhood? Oh, this is easy. Now it's very easy to see as we're looking at multi-layers. Who were those people? Okay, what were those components in your childhood that made you realize who you were? You know, what were all these different people talking about? Who was that grandmother that perhaps paid for those piano lessons? You know, and now you sing, you know, professionally, and you play the piano professionally. Who is that one neighbor that perhaps tried to help you, you know, when you were in a bad situation with your parents? And here it is now that you're helping perhaps other people who have had difficult situations with their folks, you know. So who were those people, and what were the human components in your life, throughout your life, that kind of coaxed you or changed you or conditioned and elevated you? We are in a very fragile time of Aries here. It's the global baby, it's the global child. It would be very, very nice to not feel sorrow, because it's very easy to say, oh, my grandma's dead now, you know, and I never actually said thank you or sorry or something. It's very easy, but the most important thing here is not to touch things with sadness and carry on this momentum, because sometimes this can embed underneath the different slip and slide factors of this particular momentum. It might be very, very nice, very neat. It's like molten lava, you know, of energy. And it's all going different ways. It might be very, very neat to condition yourself out of shock or sadness or desperation or depression or fear or anger when you see another person, when you think about them. How to do this? Okay, we've got Jupiter retrograde, Mercury retrograde. We've got a lot of different things in the sky that, my gosh, like, it is so easy for a certain type of person, perhaps, or a certain type of practice, to get rid, to cut out every association that you have in your head that's positive, negative, or especially judgmental about another person. You know? It's a worry, I feel, that we can't look at one another without association that is not even ours. It's like a social, cultural, or even I suppose mechanical associations that we have. it is very, very easy for some people to know people are people. Everybody is. One way that I've helped myself recently is I thought, everything is just one being. It's just that we have different masks on, we have different bodies. That's the only thing. This is one way. Another way is testing you. What triggers you on Facebook? Maybe you're not any more triggered by things. Perhaps you can see that there are no me and them. It's a very, very important time to stop humbling yourself in front of another person. It's actually a really epic time to also stop elevating yourself in front of other people, which is actually the same thing. Usually the same people do both. And also a very interesting time to not serve anymore, just to give. And also a very good time not to purchase and kind of like mix about with people when you have to, but to actually integrate and step in. If you actually were somebody who kind of just, messed about, but, kept to yourself in Aquarius, it's actually a very interesting time to note that for yourself. There's also many, many ways in which we separate ourselves into, the customer, like the buyer and the seller. We can also mess with ourselves through gender, race, and all of those different stereotypes, class for some people, also, capability, talent, elevation. We can really, really stuff ourselves around, but it feels to me that the most sound of us during this moon, and the one person perhaps that or the few people that you heard about that are willing to change things massively during this time, because it's almost, this is like the VIP after party. Okay, this is like a secret little momentum. Not many of us will get this, I feel, but there are starlight opportunities. There are during this particular moon, I believe that there will be a few people in this world that can just step onto such a huge gold mine, like gold mine. And this is not just like, people, sensuality, meeting someone, or money, this is not just, no, or like getting producer or something like that. This is like stepping onto an energetic gold mine and by accident changing your whole world. Somebody said to me something, and I felt this, and then for some reason somebody else said something and somebody else said something, and my whole brain just completely changed. You could change your mind. You can change your emotions. It's like you can crack, it's not even cracking a code, because that's very crispy, cracking, You can, it's almost like you're cracking into the safe of life. It's possible. I feel there will be a few people, there will be a few of us, people who are accidentally somehow picking a code to something that we don't know, and we're just doing this, but you can crack it. Like here you can change your life. It's either you step into the right job, or you walk into that door, walk through those doors and you meet that person or those people, or you can just, by accident, it's like you just step onto a platform and it turns out to be an elevator, and off you go. That's very, very, very interesting. It's like people are getting almost like it's like drafted into heaven. It's like put into the right connective points. It's like you get elevated from one state to the next. It's like the hands of all creation just grab you and put you onto a different platform of life, where you don't have to work anymore, you don't have to worry anymore, you don't have to try, you don't have to knock on any doors anymore, you don't have to be that one person, that wanted to stick around and help, everyone achieve. You could really have an organic life. What is that? Organic life. It's like you don't do anything. It's like you don't even do you anymore. It's just like you're just learning. It's like, wow, this is beautiful. It's like you're sitting back and it's like the car drives itself. It's like you're in the passenger seat and God's driving. That's very, very likely. So the useful thing that I can probably say last is that letting people connect to their own grid. And are you welcoming you? Are you welcoming you? Can you feel okay about like all the different things that you have done or taken part in that you just didn't really know why? Or, you know, can you be okay about like what's been done? Can you be okay? Can you sort of see how it's kind of alright to be yourself as you are now? And do you want to also maybe pass on that compliment to another? It's like, hey, you know, like, for example, hey, man, you know, who puts up a lot of photos of his cars and his girls, you know, that's all right. It's okay. Say okay. Hey, girl, you know, or girls that are, you know, taking their clothes off on social media, you know. And sometimes it's very easy to get seduced. It's like, say this girl's got 20,000 subscribers, you know, and you're like, I've only got 70. And say, I'm really trying to make people notice, but don't worry, don't worry. You're like, okay, looking at this girl, trust yourself to find that really nice balance. It's so easy this week. Oh, wow, that usually triggers me. That's okay. You know, you are all right. Just tell people they're all right. You don't need to inspire yourself to do what they do. You know, you don't have to inspire them to understand you. Like here it's like, oh, you're all right. There's a homeless guy over there. And I'm wearing my little Prada purse, you know. That's cool. That's all right. Or the other way around. It is very nice, very, very, very obvious, very, very clear time to just be all right with people. And then you might step on that banana peel of change. You may just step onto that quicksand or that quick current underneath, and you might elevate. I feel that all of us have the opportunity to do this. It's just whether we are able to let go enough, and who we are has to, in some sense, change. So thank you very much. I hope that you've enjoyed this reading. Sorry, it's quite a long video. Sorry, not sorry. And I will see you next time with the new moon in Aries. Thanks a lot. Bye.